Hello everyone, Chief Troy again with some more IR cooking. And today I'm going to make some chili. And the chili I'm going to make, I did find a recipe from, I forget the gentleman's name, but anyway, I found it on YouTube. And I don't want to say I copied his recipe per se, but it's very similar to his. And I've made it a couple times now, except I've done it slightly a bit different than what he does. I don't use the exact same stuff, but it's all fine. It was just the idea of how he was going through it and what he was using, so I just incorporated some of that into what I put in there. So what I'm going to use for making chili is about 3 pounds of cooked hamburger, and actually this time I'm using a little bit of ground pork as well. So there's about say about 2.5 pounds of beef and half a pound of ground pork. Now, obviously, I pre-cooked it, so that doesn't take all that extra time of making it into the video. And so I use a fairly large onion and a large pepper, bell pepper. A lot of people like to use green ones. I typically don't use green in anything I cook, so I use a large red one, which is still good, and and large onion, just a yellow onion. You can use whatever onion you want, but that's just what I use. Now I also cut them up, dice them up, and I always pre-cook them just to sweat them down and get them a little soft before you put them in the pot. Okay, so then I also use a large can of, I use dark red kidney beans. All right, rinsed off. You don't want to put that liquid juice that's inside the can inside there. It's kind of nasty. So I also use 2 cans of Chili style beans. All right, so that's kind of like what they are. The gentleman that I got this recipe from, he uses a different kind of beans, but same idea, except I can't find those beans around here. So this is what I use. And I also use a can of diced tomatoes. You can use whatever can of diced tomatoes you want, but I just happen to use just plain ones, not flavored kinds, like like the Italian seasoning one. Just use plain ones. I also use a half cup of red wine vinegar, a full, I guess, a 48-ounce tin of tomato juice. All right, and I also use just a small can of tomato paste. This gentleman that he doesn't actually use tomato paste in his chili, but I like to have it a tiny bit a little thicker, so I like to put the paste inside there. Also use a half a teaspoon of salt and a half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Now, along with that, I also use 2 packets of chili seasoning mix. You can buy them at pretty much any grocery store. Pretty much. I say that pretty much because I've been looking around in Quebec here and had a hard time trying to find any at all. I had to go to the Ontario side to actually find them for whatever reason. I don't know why, if they don't like that stuff in Quebec, but anyway, whatever. So all I do now is, so that's all the stuff that I use to make this. And so I just use a big stock pot. You can use whatever size pot you want, just make sure it's enough to hold all the ingredients. So you just take your beef, put your beef in there. Now, because I already got it all cooked, it's gonna, it doesn't take as long whatsoever. So you put that in there, then you take your onions and your peppers and just put that in with it. All right. So after you can put that in there, then you can start putting all your other things. All right. So when you put the tomatoes in there, just put the entire can, juice and all. And it'll be good inside there. Then you can add your 2 cans of chili beans. All right. So just put them in there. There's one. Let's put in the other one. I used to make chili before. I'm using a different method, and not using all of these same ingredients, but it wasn't bad. But I found that since I started using the method I use now and the ingredients I use now, the chili tastes so much better. Oh wow, it's definitely. So let's take your tomato juice and put it all in there. Once that's in there, now of course don't forget your kidney beans. Put those in there. Those off to the side. So now your red wine vinegar. Most people wouldn't even think of putting red wine vinegar in there, and I was kind of hesitant at first, but it actually adds quite a little distinct flavor to your chili, and I think you would be pleasantly surprised how good it is. So I use a half a cup of red wine vinegar. So from there you can put your salt and your cayenne. Now, you don't have to put the cayenne if you don't want it. If you don't want to have it extra spicy or nothing like that. I like having it in there, so I put it in. And now you put your two other spices in there. Or two packages of spices, I should say. And all those spices really is just a combination of all your typical spices you see in a chili. You know, your chili powder, your cumin, and a few other spices that are typically in there. Except it's kind of unique for what that is. And each different package has its own unique little flavor to it. Normally, I would use, I can't remember the name brand, but it's a little red packet. And that's pretty good, but this time I couldn't find that, and I had to use a different kind. So it'll still be all right. It's just the idea that it's a chili seasoning mix. So just take your tomato paste now and just put it in there. Now I like to have the tomato paste in there because, like I said, I like to have it just a little bit thicker than some people do, I suppose. So I'll just scrape most of it out of there. Put it in. And just give it a big stir now. Alright, you just want to make sure that all your spices and all of your beans and whatnot are all incorporated and mixed well. And so once it's in there, you want to leave this heat up. Initially, what you can do, this is what I usually do. I usually put it on high right away, just to get the heat in there, get it going, bring it to pretty close to a boil or a boil. And once it's there, just turn it down low and leave it on low. And once it's on low, you leave it go for approximately 3 hours. And every, say, half hour, 25 minutes or so, you just go in, give it a stir, check it out, make sure it's not, getting stuck to the bottom. That's where having a good pot comes in. If you get, I hate to say it, but if you use one of those cheaper type of pots that you can get that a lot of people buy because they are very cheap. If you don't watch your chili or anything else you cook in those pots for that matter, it will stick to the bottom. So you really got to pay attention. All right. So it doesn't mean that a good pot like this one will not stick to the bottom. You still have to pay attention, but chances are it won't stick as easily as those really, really cheap pots. So I would really recommend getting a decent pot. Okay, so anyway, that's it for now. And once it's done, I'll come back and give you a little photo or just a little extra ending that to show you what it looked like when it's finally cooked. All right, so I'll see you when it's done. All right, so I'm back now, and it's enough time has gone by that the chili is done. So I've taken it off the heat. I've given it a good stir. and it looks great. It tastes awesome. And so I'll just turn the phone or turn the camera around, I guess, and you guys can take a look at it in the pot. You can see it's pretty good. I mean, it's not as thick and hearty as some other chilies that I've seen, but that's okay. It tastes wonderful, and it's a great treat, and especially when you're staying up on IR and you're away from home and your family. It's good to have ready-made lunches that you can easily just take out of the freezer and you can take to work with you when you do go to work in an office when that time comes. But right now, obviously, working from home with all the restrictions from COVID. But yeah, so that's chili. And anyway, I hope you all enjoyed it and enjoy it. If you decide to make this recipe, it is it's worth it. I would recommend it. Otherwise, I mean, sure, I know everybody makes their own chili, so that's all good. So enjoy. All right, take care.